This is G3E, and we're talking about trigonometry and solving problems. And the key word here is that trigonometry is all about ratios. And we are talking today about specifically right triangles. So inside of a right triangle, we have different angles, and right now we're focused on angle B. And ratios are all about relationships. So how do the different sides relate to angle B? So this is the opposite side, and this is the adjacent side, and then of course this is the hypotenuse because it's opposite the 90-degree angle. So each of these ratios has its own special name. So if you're talking about the opposite side over the hypotenuse, that is called sine. Opposite over hypotenuse. So down on the bottom here I have this little saying, so ka toa, and if you look at the first one, sine is the opposite over hypotenuse. A little mnemonic device to help you remember these ratios. The second one, so sine is opposite over hypotenuse. The second one is called cosine. Cosine is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And that's what this stands for here. Adjacent over hypotenuse. And then lastly, the third ratio is tangent. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. So if you look down here, we have opposite. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the key word in this one is to solve problems. So we're going to look at some problems you can solve using trigonometry. So in this triangle, the first thing you do is check to make sure you have right triangle, which this one is. The next thing you have to do in any trig problem is identify what the relationships, the sides are to your angle. So if this is the angle, this side is the opposite side, and this side is the hypotenuse because here is the right angle and it's opposite. So I'm going to write out an equation here. Opposite over hypotenuse is sine, so the sine of 30 degrees has to equal the opposite side, which is 4, divided by, and I'm going to call the hypotenuse here x. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and solve this, and I'm going to cross multiply. When I do that, I end up with the sine of 30 times x equals 4, and then I have to divide both sides by the sine of 30. That cancels, and x will equal. Now at this point in time, you need a calculator, and in that calculator you need 3 buttons. The 3 buttons are sine, cosine, and tangent. Look for those buttons right there. Alright? And basically what you're going to do is you're going to type into your calculator 4, then you press divide, and then you're going to hit sine 30, and the answer is going to be 8. Your calculator should say 8. If it doesn't, please check to make sure your calculator is in degree mode. If your calculator is not in degree mode, it will not work. Alright, take a look at this triangle here. The angle that we are going to use in this triangle is here. We have the adjacent side, and then this is the hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse, that's cosine. So the cosine of 60 degrees has to equal the adjacent side. There's a question mark, but I'm going to put x over the hypotenuse, which is 12. And when I cross multiply here, I'm going to end up taking the cosine of 60 times 12, and that is going to give me my answer which is 6. This is the last example because you can also use trigonometry to figure out what an angle measure is. So let's take a look at this angle, and the two sides that we have is the opposite side and the adjacent side. So that happens to be tangent. I'm going to call this angle x. So we say the tangent of x is equal to 6, the opposite side, over the adjacent side. And on your calculator you should have a button labeled second. And if you press that button and then press tangent, you should look for something like this. When you do that and you're in degree mode, it will tell you how many degrees that angle is. And in this case, the answer should be roughly 24 degrees. So there you have it, solving problems using the trigonometric ratios of sine, cosine, and tangent.